Plumlee got tangled up and caught a shot trying to hold. Next up, Dillon Brooks versus Jared Vanderbilt. It started with a shove. Brooks didn't like Vanderbilt's physical play, and Vanderbilt sure didn't like being pushed out of the air. Before you know it, they were in each other's faces, exchanging words. Vanderbilt clearly wanted a piece of Brooks, and while Brooks kept his cool on the outside, it was obvious the tension was boiling. Chris Duhon ended up with a technical foul after reacting emotionally loud. The benches were on edge, and this was just the start of the night. Then came Giannis Antetokounmpo, who wasn't about to let anyone ruin his moment. After dropping 64 points, Giannis was looking for the game ball to celebrate a historic night. But confusion broke out when an assistant coach for the opposing team seemed to take the ball. Giannis wasn't having it. You could see the tension rise as he stood near the scorer's table, demanding the ball. It was awkward. It was tense. And yeah, kind of petty, but also totally understandable. You don't drop 64 and walk away empty-handed. Meanwhile, things got even messier in the Warriors game. Klay Thompson and Jaden McDaniels were battling for position, and things got way too physical. Klay had a handful of jersey. McDaniels responded by grabbing him back. Next thing you know, they were spinning each other around like a wrestling match. Draymond Green jumped in again, this time locking McDaniels in a full-on headlock. Security rushed in. No punches were thrown, thankfully. But it was clear. Emotions were out of control. And guess what? That was just week one of the madness. If you thought the drama ended with Draymond's headlock, think again. Because the NBA wasn't cooling off. It was only getting hotter. Let's talk about Desmond Bane versus D'Angelo Russell, a confrontation that had everyone on edge. On a fast break, Anthony Davis was fouled hard, and Desmond Bane, who's never been shy, got in the mix. Words were exchanged, but the situation exploded when D'Lo came running in, arms out, trying to play peacemaker. Only problem? His entrance made it worse. Cam Reddish tried stepping in, refs rushed to break it up, and fans couldn't believe what they were watching. A quick review was called. Altercation review, and everyone held their breath. But luckily, no one was tossed. Just another moment in a season that felt more like a WWE SmackDown than an NBA game. But now, let's move to something even more unexpected. Ben Simmons versus Jared Allen. Yeah, you heard that right. Simmons, who's usually pretty calm, got tangled up with Allen during a hard foul inside the paint. Things got heated quickly. Jared Allen, not known for losing his cool, actually went at Simmons. That's rare. Real rare. Donovan Mitchell had to step in to calm Allen down. Simmons didn't even flinch, just stood there like a statue, which, if we're being honest, is sort of his specialty. Still, seeing Allen fired up like that told you just how tense that game was. And speaking of tension, we've got a classic showdown. Lou Williams versus Kevin Durant. It started with a rebound. KD pulled it in, and then boom, Williams stood right over him, flexing. That disrespect wasn't going to fly. KD pushed him off, but the refs just stood there. No tech. No foul. Nothing. Everyone watching was like, wait, what? That's supposed to be an automatic technical foul. Williams wasn't just standing over Durant, he was taunting him, sending a message that dated all the way back to their Boston battles. That history? Yeah, it runs deep. And that energy kept flowing right into the Malik Monk versus Jaylen Brown moment. Monk ripped the ball away on a fast break, and suddenly, Mike Brown, his coach, started shouting, right in the face of an official. Within seconds, he was ejected, and the chaos just spread. Malik Monk tried to hold back his coach in a full-on bear hug, but it was too late. The ref had made up his mind. And all of this? Over one aggressive play that spiraled into a coaching meltdown. But we're still not done. Isaiah Stewart versus Brandon Miller might be the most underrated beef of the season. Brandon Miller went up for a dunk, knowing full well that Isaiah Stewart was behind him. Now, if you don't know Stewart, this is the same guy who tried to charge at LeBron James last season. The guy does not play around. So when Stewart fouled him hard, people weren't surprised. But the tension kept rising every time they lined up against each other. They had already squared off once earlier in the game, and now it was happening again. Cooler heads eventually stepped in, but the message was clear. These two weren't done with each other. As the announcer said, that was a Rick Mahorn-level foul. And old-school fans knew exactly what that meant. Hard-nosed, take no prisoners defense. You either respected it, or you hated it. One thing's for sure. The 2024 NBA season wasn't just about skills and stats. It was about pride, grudges, and straight-up attitude. The 2024 NBA season wasn't just intense, it was volatile. From opening tip to final buzzer, emotions were overflowing, and tempers were always one moment away from snapping. Let's rewind to one of the wildest starts to a game all season. We're talking just 7 seconds in, and boom, LeBron James versus 7-foot Williams. Before anyone even broke a sweat, they were already tangled up. A whistle blew, shoves were exchanged, and just like that, the game turned into a grudge match. You could see it in LeBron's face, frustration, disbelief, and a whole lot of, "You seriously want to do this right now?" Williams didn't back down either. It wasn't about skill. This was about ego, power, and territory. And just when you thought it couldn't get more intense, enter Austin Reaves versus Patrick Beverley. You already know that Reaves tried to spin out of it, but Pat Bev kept closing the space like a dog on a bone. Finally, Reaves turned it over, and the two got tangled. The crowd roared. The bench stood up. And Beverley just grinned. And when the refs finally blew the whistle, Booker didn't hold back. Words flew. The crowd could see it. The players could feel it. And then it happened. Security stepped onto the floor. That's how real it got. Multiple assistant coaches ran in too, trying to separate them. You could practically hear Booker's heart beating through his jersey. The beef was loud, personal, and very, very real. And finally, Tyrese Maxey and Harris versus Dillon Brooks again. Brooks was in everyone's face. He picked up a foul. He shoved. He talked. And then Harris snapped. He got up in Brooks' face, fired up, yelling across the court. That's not like Tobias Harris. He's usually calm. But Brooks? He brings the fire out of everyone. Even Marcus Morris Sr. jumped in, trying to back Harris up as things almost spiraled into another full-on confrontation. This season didn't just give us highlights. It gave us emotions, conflict, and unfiltered rawness. The NBA wasn't just about basketball. It was about battle lines. And the fans? We were loving every second of it. By the time we reached the second half of the 2024 NBA season, the league was less about team rivalries and more about player versus player warfare. Let's start with one of the most talked about incidents of the year. Draymond Green versus Jusuf Nurkic. It wasn't just another scuffle. This one led to serious consequences. Things were already physical between the two. Green was fired up, talking, bumping, drawing charges. But then, during one of the most heated moments, he swung his arm and caught Nurkic in the face. Boom. Immediate technical. Then ejection. Then suspension. It was the kind of act that had everyone talking, fans, analysts, even players. Nurkic spoke out afterward, saying it was more than just basketball, it was reckless. Draymond's long suspension became one of the most controversial punishments of the season. But the moment wasn't just about the hit. It was about what it meant. How far players were pushing limits before someone snapped. And Green? He didn't stop there. In another game, Draymond went off again, this time against Devin Booker. A foul was called. Booker wasn't happy. Green wasn't happy. And the ref? He didn't hesitate. Technical foul. The crowd booed. Steve Kerr raised his hands in disbelief. It wasn't even about the foul, it was about how early the tech came. Even the commentators said, "That's one of the lightest technicals we've ever seen." But that's the thing with already sitting on a technical. But his body language said it all. He wasn't happy. One more move, and he could have joined the long list of ejections that define the season. This wasn't just a year of basketball. It was a year of chest thumping, trash talking, ref challenging, headlocking, ball snatching mayhem. From rookies making statements to veterans defending their legacies, the 2024 NBA season will be remembered as one of the most unapologetically intense seasons in league history. Because in this league, respect is earned and sometimes it's demanded by force.